Here's some counterintuitive advice. I want my patients to object to the treatment plan, and you should too. So if you're like most patient-centered practitioners, you tend to have a fairly similar structure to how you deliver a report of findings. So you'll recap what you found, you'll talk about the diagnosis, what's wrong, you'll talk about what your treatment's going to do to help improve that, you'll be giving them some things they can do as well. We do all that stuff, and then we come to the bit that for a lot of practitioners just raises our stress levels a little bit. This is where we deliver the treatment plan. This is where we tell them, this is how many visits I think it's going to take, or this is how often, I'm going to recommend that you come back for the next few ones. And many of us, because we're worried about being one of those chiropractors or being seen that way, we're worried about the patient thinking, what if they're just in this for the money? And we know that most patients, often don't expect us to recommend as much treatment as we do at the start. Those fears are in our head, and that can sometimes tempt us to get a little bit nervous about this part and to kind of want to get it over with. Now, it also tempts us to undertreat. I've talked about that in other videos and other newsletters. I'm not going to repeat that here. Even if you're not undertreating, what it can do is it can prompt you to try and get a yes. That you'll explain what's going on, you'll deliver the treatment plan, and what you're looking for is hopefully the patient says yes. Because if I hear a yes, I go, oh, good, they're okay with it, they've agreed with it, we can move on to the next bit. So we're trying to get through the uncomfortable bit there. And the second we see something that indicates a yes, we're like, great, we've got it, let's move on. We're kind of looking to just get out of there and, metaphorically leave the room and move on to something else. Here's why that's a problem. I am betting that you've had this experience before, probably many, many times. You deliver the treatment plan, you go, this is what I'd recommend. And the patient goes, okay. And you go, great, okay means yes. And then you move on, and maybe you're doing some treatment, you're doing some other stuff, whatever it is. Then they leave the room, they go to the front desk, and you either hear through the door or you find out later on they did not follow the treatment plan at all. They ended up just booking something completely different. Maybe they only came in half as often as you said. Maybe they only booked him the next visit or two, whatever it might be. You're left there frustrated going, you said yes. I got a yes there, and now you've gone and done something different. And that's a problem, not just because, they may have had some objections there that, the front desk weren't able to deal with, but also now the patient knows they haven't followed your advice and that they said something and did something else, and they create some distance in the relationship there. So this is what I try and do. I try and get a no. So when I deliver the treatment plan and I share what I'd recommend there, I will say something like, how does that sound? Not just, I'm going to recommend this, okay? Because they might just be seeing your momentum and go, okay, and then move on. So I go, how does that sound to you? And I pause and I watch them like a hawk. And I'm not just looking for their answer. I'm looking for, is there any incongruity, any incongruence between what they say and what they then do? Or what they say rather, and what they do in the moment. So if they go, yeah, sounds good, and they're nodding and they're looking relaxed, that's great. If they go, yep, and there's a little hold of the breath or something like that, I'm thinking, there might be a no underneath that yes, because some of your patients will want to people please, or they will feel a little bit embarrassed that maybe financially it's going to be difficult for them. They're worried about upsetting you. They're worried this means they won't get treatment. So they say yes when they actually want to say no. But they're doing that because it doesn't in the moment feel safe to say no. Now, obviously you do a great job with all your communication skills and all the other stuff I teach. They'll feel more safe. But even then, sometimes this is the first time where they're like, oh, I'm being asked something to do that I'm not sure about, or I'm not comfortable with, or I wasn't expecting. So they may still say that. So I'm looking for that. And if there's any sign of any hesitation, anything I'm not sure about, what I then do is I'm going to stick a spotlight on that. I want to highlight that. I want them to know that I noticed that and that I want to talk about it. Not in a, you hesitated kind of way or anything like that. It's not like an interrogation, but I want to shine a light on it and share that I noticed something and invite them to explore what might be going on. And that might be as simple as like, you sure you seem a little bit uncertain. Did you have any other questions? Or was there anything you weren't sure about with this? So what I'm doing there is I'm simply inviting them to say more. What I'm trying to show them is like, oh, it seems like there might be more there, and I'm curious, and if you're okay, I'd like to know more. And I really do want them to bring that up, because if they have an objection and we don't talk about it, chances are they're going to act on it anyway, but they're going to act on it with the front desk. And the front desk cannot have that conversation. They are not qualified to have that conversation. If the patient goes, oh, I know you said that, but could I come in a bit less often? Or could we wait and start a week or two there? Front desk can't give them any clinical info on what that means. Whereas if they tell me and go, I know you recommended twice a week, I'm going to struggle with that. Would it be okay to come once a week? I can then share what I suspect will happen. I might well go, we can do that. It's going to take longer. It might, you've got your holiday in a few weeks. You probably won't be as good by then. But if you're okay with that, that's absolutely what we can do. So, and I just share, this is the alternative. If you want to follow the things you've just recommended, if you want to do something different, here's what you can expect. And I do it in a non-judgmental, non-committal, non-persuasive way. I just show them, this is what I'd recommend for best results. If you want to do that, this is what you can expect instead. And then I go, what sounds best to you? And I show them that I'm still listening and I'm still curious there. But I really want to get the objection there, because if I don't get the objection, they will go and act on it. The front desk won't be able to handle that. Also, like I said, the patient is then emotionally stepping back from me, because they will know that they've said yes and then they went and did something that meant no. Which means the next time they come to see me, they're going to be worried. They go, oh, Chris has probably noticed. And you may have had this before. Patients did that and they come back and go, I know you said to come in this often, but I couldn't do it for that. And they feel embarrassed, and they're kind of trying to explain themselves because they're worried they're going to be in trouble. They're worried I'm going to be annoyed at them. They've already stepped back from that. And I haven't done anything wrong. There's nothing to do with me, but they've stepped back and created distance in that therapeutic relationship. So when I share the treatment plan, I'm looking for the no, and I want to highlight it and I want to discuss it. This can feel a little bit difficult if you're new in practice, if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, but I promise you, it feels much better to have that conversation there. And especially if you can do it in a way where you're just offering options, option A, option B, B will have this, but A will have that. And you can just offer it to them and let them make their own choice as a grown-up, as a patient-centered way. You realize you don't have to persuade anybody, and it's actually a good thing when they share that, because they've now removed something that was going to be creating some internal conflict in them. And I've shown them that they can tell me that, and that it's a safe place, and that I'm not offended if they don't follow the plan. I'm not upset. And that can be really reassuring to certain patients as well. So next time you're delivering a treatment plan, I want you to, first of all, just notice how you feel when you do that. You don't have to do anything different. Don't say anything. Don't pay any attention to the patient. Just to yourself. Just notice, do I feel like I kind of want to get this part over with? Because if you do, then you need to recognize that a part of you will try to rush that, and a part of you will be looking for just a way to go, oh, they said, okay, let's move on. If you notice that, then what you want to do is think about, okay, how can I just slow this down? How can I give myself some time? And how can I put my attention, instead of focusing on me and how I'm feeling, how can I put that attention on the patient? And the best way to do it is slow it down. Just say, how does that sound? What do you make of that? How does that sound to you? Something like this, and then stop and watch them. Watch them like a hawk for any subtle incongruity, any signs that their body language doesn't quite match up what they're saying. And if so, just share that you've noticed that. Now, you might be wrong. It might be they're like, no, that's fine. I was just thinking in my head, I don't know. Yeah, I might be able to come after work on a Tuesday. It might be hesitation because they were thinking something through. I'm not going, you hesitated, what's wrong? But just share, I noticed you seemed a little bit unsure there, or, it seemed like you weren't totally clear on that. Do you have any other questions? Just give them a little invitation to say more, and then let them say it. And then just go, if they've said something different, just say, well, okay, we can do that. Here's what I would expect from that. And when you do it in that non-attached way, it feels so much better for you, and it really reassures the patient. So step one, notice if part of you wants to rush through that. And then step two, watch the patient. Excuse me. Put your attention on them, and then notice any signs of incongruity. Because if you do, you get the no in the room, it goes much, much better. So give that a try, and I'll see you soon for another video.